Again, well,
conversely, though, it's also a
2-rank
2-rank promotion if you die. So
Yeah.
either way, we're probably all getting 2-rank promotions. Just don't think about it too hard. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we're back with another episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, the 1979 version. We got, what, not including today, 7 left before we're done with the show, and then move on to the movie versions. Before anything else, we have a comment. Heavenin72 from Sayla's Agony says, I've assumed the name Trojan Horse was literally due to White Base's shape. You know, with its head and 4 legs and all. I mean, even the feds went for the same equine naming convention with the ship class literally being Pegasus. Of course, Zeon probably could have chosen a less cool horse to name their arch enemy, but then again, do you really want the cause of death for their precious prince to be died during the battle against Federation warship codenamed Rainbow Pony or something?
Yeah, I read that comment, yeah.
I mean,
it's got no funny. He's like, oh, our youngest prince died because he messed with Rainbow Pony.
Well, I get the idea. Trojan Horse, it's literally an enemy horse name, right?
Yeah.
But you could have gone with a cooler horse name. I mean, Nightmare?
Yeah, by this time it is a nightmare, considering all the ships are destroyed and all the damage is done.
I mean, it's not like dark coloration, like, say, oh, God, what was the seed one again? Dominion?
Dominion, yeah.
Yeah, the dark version of the Archangel. Yeah, the White Base is certainly not dark, so Nightmare maybe doesn't apply there, but certainly if they're calling it Pegasus and you're going to choose to call it something else, and you want, like, something cool, only maybe implicitly for their own given example of what did Garma die to. Garma died fighting the Federation Nightmare. Kind of cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're on the Federation side. What are they calling us? The Nightmare. That's fucking badass. Let's change our own name.
There is a real life example. I'm not going to get hugely political, but during the Cold War and even today, a lot of Russian equipment, Soviet equipment, even before that, Japanese and German equipment, the Allies and then NATO would give them their own names, right? Sometimes those names were designed to be kind of like wimpy, like, oh, this fighter's called the Flagon, right? Everything with F, Flagon, Fencer, Fishbed. So they were designed to be, okay, we're not going to give them like great names, but, you know, usually Russians wouldn't give them names, but sometimes they like the name so much that they got that they would use it for their own. Like the MiG-29 Fulcrum. Like that sounded pretty cool. So they're like, oh, well, we're going to go with that. We like that very much because, you know, it's a turning point, right? It's a very agile fighter, looks cool. It's the Fulcrum. But something like the Fishbed is like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're not going to call it that. You know, it's like, eh. But the thing is,
I can see it though. You wanna name it something that when one of your guys takes one out, they feel amazing. Oh man, I just killed a fucking Hercules. Something.
However, bombers have gotten like cooler names like Bear, Badger, Backfire. Right? It's like I shot down like 5 backfires. Right? It's like, you know.
I just want everyone to realize what Lessons thinks are cool names.
Oh, what is Backfire?
The thing your shitty car does, and a Badger, by the way. I'm not saying it's not a cool animal, but in the name category, there's a lot cooler animal names. Like, for instance, Bear, as you already said.
Yeah.
Badger and Backfire. The cause of many an accidental shootout.
Well, yeah, in the Cold War, it would have been, yeah.
Or, you know, what I say I did at the restaurant last night after I got food poisoning.
I went from
Lessons cool name category.
Nah, I went to gross, and yeah, like, okay, never mind.
I'm just saying. Well, this is like when you're thinking of names for your kid, right? the first thing you do is, what are they going to get made fun of for? What are the things I got to cut out immediately?
Yeah.
You're like on the design panel, and you're like, we don't listen to this guy's suggestions for cool names.
You're in the meme, and I'm the part of the guy who gets chased out of the window. Yeah.
All right. Next up, though, we got the board. And I've added a couple of people. Some of them don't even get listed. Sorry, in the behind the voice actors site. Because even though they got voice actors, like was it Boro?
Yeah. Sorry,
I'm zoomed out way too far. Yeah, Boro. Sorry, little head behind what is actually Bright's shoulder.
Yeah.
But he has a voice line, and he has a name. He shows up. And Vamos, who takes over the bridge for Mirai during a scene you didn't particularly enjoy. Yeah. Captain Barum. Good guy so far. Hope they don't ruin him in episodes to come. Everyone's favorite, Lecoq.
Yeah.
Who don't know if survived or not. It's a chaotic fight. I assume he went out on one of those ships, but some of those ships got destroyed.
Yeah. We have Minerva. It should be Minerva, but I guess they just skipped the R.
Well, sorry, you're saying should be. I thought you were saying should be on my end, like I spelled it wrong. I'm like, nope, they say it. That's how they pronounce it in English, too.
Yeah, Minerva.
Well, to be fair, we're just assuming that's the source of their naming scheme.
Also, is that Lao would be a second? That's weird. Because she's from the Sabi family, but is that his second name? Or is that her mother's name?
Middle name. Could just be a middle name.
Probably a middle name, yeah.
It's not her mother's name. Sorry, that's why I'm already...
Zena,
Mia was her maiden name in origin. No, that's why I was scrolling up real quick to see if what her last name originally was. Just see if it had that... Whatever.
She does look much way older than she does in Origins, for sure. I guess motherhood and 2 years, nearly a year, over a year of war.
Several months.
Yeah, several months of war would do that to you.
I mean, she aged up to look like her husband.
And taller, too. Because in Origins, I mean, Doza is very tall.
I would say the problem therein is that they don't have anything to judge her against. Because once, effectively, she has a kid with Dozel, she's not around anybody that I can... She's only next to Dozel.
And the other women.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to judge them against, except for Dozel. And I never saw them before. Like, maybe there's a scene, probably, where they're, like, boarding the ship. And I'm like, oh, there's that guy. And maybe he was on the bridge earlier, so I could say him next to the cock. And then, the cock versus Dozel, and then just, like, make, like, a basis. But this seems like a lot to do for no payoff. Of course, Admiral Tiaman. Tia Nem is dead. Thank God. Stop messing up his name. The only real reason I wanted him dead was because I can't get his name right ever. That inconvenience is now gone and done with. Of course, Slegger is dead. Nobody cried.
Yeah. Well, I guess Mirai cried a lot.
Sorry, the audience. I don't know. Maybe somebody did. I don't care.
Yeah.
Slegger was a weird addition to the show. He was not a better version of Roy.
No.
Ozma is a better version of Roy, but that's from a different show. Arguably, I've already said Ozma's an asshole too, so I don't know. Maybe there is no better version of Roy. I just don't get the Mirai relationship. Obviously, they were already building something with Bright, and then Bright went simp, so it's weird. And assumingly, she's still going to be carrying Slegger's ring.
Cheap ring that he got from his mother, I guess.
Yeah, which is also weird because he was wearing it. If you, because it's not one of the, I don't know. I just assume that you can get a ring from your mother and that sort of thing, and you're holding on to it because you want to use it to propose one day or something like that.
In a pocket or...
Yeah, but when we see him eating the burger, he's wearing the ring. So it's like, what? That's a ring from my mother.
Okay.
Just I also want to one day just add that to the list of animated gifs that I have of people just eating burgers in the shows that we watch, because I already have Yang Wen Lee from Legends of Galactic Heroes, which I use while we're talking about stuff. Yang is just eating a burger. So now I also have Slayer chowing down. I think that's everybody. Because I've stopped expanding the board out and just hoping we don't introduce too many new people. I can just fill in the space with what's left. Because already it's incredibly difficult, like Zenazabi and Minevazabi and Captain Barham. Gotta all tie them to Dozel, which means crossing the entire fucking board to its upper left-hand corner. You know, where Dozel is. And if you don't notice, there's kind of a traffic jam going on here with a lot of this. Oh yeah, we also didn't mention Dozel's dead.
Yeah.
Went out like a badass. Oh yeah, and I had to tie a bunch of people to McQueeve too, because he shows back up.
Well, I did make a note of not McQueeve, but
yeah. Well,
Dozel.
You know what? I think that's it for the board then, because I don't remember anybody else to add here. So let's just go ahead into notes then, since you're bringing that up. And you know, go ahead, you start.
Now for the audience, we've been talking about differences in episodes. When I do my notes, it's easier for me to go to Crunchyroll and just watch them. But in the Crunchyroll, setup, they have one episode less because, as we discussed, what's his name? Island, or the name of the character?
Doan. I can't get the C name part right, but it's Doan's Island.
Doan's Island was taken out. That's the unwanted episode. So I'll go for names instead of going episode so and so. Even though I have this here, it doesn't matter. So in the episode A Faithful Encounter, my first one, this is the weird episode where not much appears to happen except to point to Amuro having some kind of strange connection with Lala. Actually, no, sorry. The Glory of Solomon. See, even I get confused.
I was going to say, I didn't even think about it until right before you started saying like a Faithful Encounter. Did we already do that?
Yeah. But this one is also about Amuro. There's just another mention of multiple of how Amuro is special. Right, we're getting a lot of that. It's like, oh, Amuro is special.
But why are you saying that's a connection to Lala?
No. That was in the first in the thing that I was in Faithful Encounter.
Oh, you're just not doing okay. Sorry, you don't have my habit of deleting your notes. That's what is happening.
No.
Okay.
No, because I don't want to repeat them, and I want to have a huge list of notes.
I know, I understand. That's what I do with my solo reactions. That when I'm thinking about something, like, wait a second, I know something about this, or I've heard this before. I'll do is Control F my notes. Like, oh, yep, I've made a note about that before. Yeah. But when it's you and me, I kind of hope that we remember each other's stuff. So I start deleting.
Yeah, so my first note in the Glory of Solomon is that in discussion, Bright and Wakin again says, oh, Amuro is special, which is something that keeps happening more and more in these episodes. Like, hint,
you know what,
Amuro is special.
I'm going to skip my first note to go to my second one, because I think it covers exactly the same thing. I appreciate that Joaquin meeting Bright again shows us through the eyes of experienced officers how much Bright, and by extension our crew, has grown since those earlier episodes when we were at Luna 2. The only element of their meeting that I think could have been done better is where Joaquin says that Amuro is different. I have no idea, given what we know in the show, why Joaquin would have a feeling about it. I think it would have been a perfect time to lean back to Matilda's Esper comment and maybe have Joaquin mention some water cooler talk. Hint about the thing we know about Amuro that's coming by indicating that the higher-ups might know something about it as well.
Or they suspect.
Right. Well, like I said, water cooler talk. He could say, like, something's different about Amuro. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, there was this whole commentary thing going on about some sort of Esper type thing. Just a hint back towards what Matilda was talking about, but develop it a little more in, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 lines of dialogue versus, I have a feeling about it. Why? you haven't been around him forever now. What's feeling?
So I guess my next note then. This is more calling out Amuro himself, because I found this it's more funny than anything else, but it's like confusing Job John with Fraw seems a bit hard to believe, no matter how tired you are, Amuro. I mean, what? I know you're tired, but it's like, oh, what? What the hell? I need glasses now? What the hell's going on?
No, I mean, it's an element of who his caretaker is, and now Job John is doing the job that Fraw used to do, and Fraw is now absent, so maybe he's hearkening back to the past.
Yeah.
An element of what used to happen in the first series of episodes, or first couple of arcs, where Amuro is dealing with the change in status now, and now that he's, like, settled into his position as, main pilot, engineer, specialist, he's hearkening back to the way things used to be, especially now that Sayla has been like, what do you think about Fraw? So it's just like one of those things. I didn't write any notes about that kind of stuff because I didn't know what to think about it, and I just still don't. That's just me guessing off the top of my head. I have no fucking idea, so I didn't write any notes.
Yeah.
All right, back to my first actual note. Taking my notes with the dub sometimes helps me be able to hear the inflection of voices that I imagine is meant to be given in the sub, but is sometimes hard to hear or read along cultural lines. The times it doesn't specifically help is with Kai. He is so sarcastic so much of the time that unless he is having a full-on breakdown, it is legitimately hard to tell if he is being sincere or sarcastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the episode, 2 episodes ago, The Glory of Solomon, as an example, where he has a number of problems with going out to fight, where if you, like, put them side by side with, like, earlier season things where he's had problems going out to fight, his sarcasm and fear have the same inflection.
Yeah, but I think now it's become more like gallus humor. Like, yeah, I gotta do this. There's no way around it. I'm gonna do it anyway.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I'm gonna be a little shit about it still.
It's actually hard to tell. Because I think he is afraid during certain parts of the episode, but he has it exactly the same way as he does his sarcastic comments.
Yeah.
So Kai is the hardest one to read in the dub.
My next note then. This one's a long one, which might seem to contradict some things that happen later, but still. Dulce's comment about only getting one Big Sam, one that is not even full assemble, shows that A, he understands that numbers matter just as much as high tech, because he wants to have more what's the name, brick doms. I could use 10 brick doms instead of one.
Well, he even has said I could have 10 hand-me-down brick doms or repair brick doms. Like, he doesn't even care about new ones. He just wants fighting units.
B, his subordinate's reply again points to the wasted effort to put into mobile armors rather than increasing mobile suit production. C, it also points at what I said before. Yes, McCueve or McCuve, they pronounce it differently, may have given Sion 10 years worth of supply, but that doesn't compensate for the current losses as well as wasted effort on mobile armors that are slow to create and manufacture.
Well, I mean, when I interrupted you a minute there, that was basically along the same lines of what I think you're reaching for, which is that when he says I could take like 10 refurbished Rick Doms, he just says Doms actually.
Yeah.
When he says I could take 10 refurbished Doms, it leans back to remember back during the fight at Luna 2 where Char is asking for more Zakus and he's like, we're running low on resources, this is what I can give you. That when he says, oh, I could just take some refurbished units, that he recognizes that there is nothing more that can be passed along right now unless he's actually going to call for reinforcements. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, basically what you wrote in the entire scene is just essentially going back to what the Zegon War effort is at. Is Cameron a new type? We don't know exactly what they are yet. I don't know exactly what they are yet, as the show's only shown us Lala's future sight and Amuro's, well, also future sight, but also ability to pinpoint weaknesses. But when Cameron is looking at Lala, she suddenly starts glowing. Then we pan back and she's not. since our point of view was Cameron before seeing her, it feels like the indication was that he had some ability to see something in her that was not evident to everyone else when the shot comes back.
I just had a note back, so I'm going to just say is that the weirdness around Lala continues. Because she's floating. Well, it's low aggregate, but it's like there's all these lights when she's floating by. And yeah, I noticed the glow as well. Like when she steps in the door, she glows briefly. And he was like, what? Because he actually notices. He's like, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? It's Cameron's point of view. And if you think about it, like Amuro's ability to see weak points and stuff, like he sees it on the ship and he stabs those points and the ship blows up. So ability to see stuff, like in Future Sight as well, is just a thing for new types, apparently. So is Cameron able to see stuff in people? Like, is his ability like oh shit, I've seen it in so many manga and manhwa now that I can't think of the name for it.
Dormant?
Say what?
His ability is dormant and just woke up or something?
Oh, no, I was going to say, it's like the ability to see aptitude. I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
Aura reading or something like that?
Like well, in the manga and manhwa that I read, it's like the ability to judge someone's future potential. So that's what I'm saying, aptitude sight or something like that. That he would have the ability to spot new types, which itself would be useful. Like if you were going to make a force out of new types, you'd be like, that one. Like just get your whole force to line up. You know?
It's over 9,000.
New types.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just a funny little note. You said a joke during that, and you just broke down laughing and everything. I didn't hear what you said when you did it. That's why I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah. It's a fake laughing with you. And then when I was editing, I was like, I can't fucking understand what he said. So I have no idea what your joke was.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember what the joke was. I think
you
it was
thought
like,
it was super funny, and it's just like, I have no idea, and I'm not going to like pause in the middle just to figure out what he said. But then I was editing and just kept playing it back, and like, I cannot fucking understand what he said.
Oh, I think it was like something about being high on acid or something. Like, oh my God, she's so high that she's like,
oh yeah, it was a Pink Floyd concert for her just going down the hallway.
Yeah, she was like, she's out of it. Like, yeah. But I always had my note about Lala weirdness continuing, so go ahead with your note.
Funny note when it comes to Char and Lala's relationship. Back in the origin, I questioned what their relationship was, romantic, father/child, brother/sister, and I came to the conclusion that he was treating Lala as a Sayla substitute, so brother/sister. Well, when Cameron asks who she is, Char says she's like a sister, which I guess proves I was reading them right from the start.
I'm going to move to my next note. It has nothing to do with Lala, but it goes back to the whole resource war aspect of the war between the Federation and Zeon. So the use of the beam interference cloud, because we talk about it's like, oh, it doesn't work because it's, you want to shoot at them, and why would you use it? So I watched it and I was like, oh, actually it makes sense, at least to me. And the use of the beam interference cloud allows the Federation forces to launch ball and GMs. The RB-79 ball really plays to the Federation advantage in numbers. It is cheap, easy to produce, and to train in. A machine that, when deployed in great numbers, can overwhelm most enemy forces at this stage of the war. In fact, the ball was basically taking worker units that are just there to repair ships and the like, and putting a gun in it. So like, go fight. That's what the RB-79 ball is.
Well, it really harkens back to with the, I guess Zeonic to some degree, but Zeon itself does. They make the mobile workers, and then they make the mobile workers into weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But also just harkens back to the Zentradi.
Yeah.
A different show, I know, but they're stupid-ass ball things I hated from the beginning. You just crunched into there, giants and balls.
Yeah.
I know I have a comment somewhere around here. It might be in my next one, in fact, about the beam interference field, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of dumb. I know what you're saying, but in the overall effort, and I think I even mentioned it during the fight, the fact that a lot of Zeon weapons are like slug throwers in that aspect, and that, okay, yours are the weapons that are mostly beam related,
Yeah, but most of the weapons that there were anti-capital weapons they're like mega partible cannons on the Solomon itself and on the ships.
Again, though, it was mostly missiles that they were using to take out the ships. And my favorite was the was it meteoroid missiles? I think they were called.
Yeah, asteroid missiles. Yeah,
which I have meteoroid missiles because I know there's a love for alliteration.
Yeah.
My problem is I didn't write it down because I thought they're cool, but I'm not making a note about it. It's just like what I'm going to say. Meteoroid weapons are cool. By the way, I'm mocking myself, but I do have like a 5-word note later. That's basically that. All right, then my next thought. Something I had to think about. The Federation superweapon, it takes a number of reflections of light from the sun and accumulates them all into a single point in space. The fact that it appears as a giant white beam implies that it acts the same way as a laser would. By the way, they later on called it a laser too, so as opposed to a magnifying glass, like I was originally considering it. So when I said during the reaction that it would just, they have to like pinpoint everything together and then it suddenly get hit, that was me implying that it was acting like a magnifying glass, that like 100 magnifying glasses suddenly hit a point and burn, which isn't how it happens at all. But why I thought about it is due to the fact that the first thing they do in the assault is create a beam interference field between them and the enemy. The same field that dissipates their beam weaponry should also be dissipating some portion of their super weapon. Now, granted, it could be strong enough to just punch through that field, but at the same time, whatever Xeon Force survives on the other side should equally be able to fire back after that.
Well, I think the beam interference field doesn't also last very long because later on we see ships firing at each other and they hit each other naturally. So I think it's a sort of a momentary, it's like a chaff cloud.
Well,
like,
those are launched after the fact and could have gone through it.
Yeah.
My problem here, and I'm going to say this first, is that I watched Iron-Blooded Orphans well before this, and they do that same shit in Iron-Blooded Orphans, is the beam interference clouds.
Yeah, well. That was your point, right? About the mirror. I also have a point about the mirror, but it's kind of
I do too. That wasn't about the mirror. That was about the interference cloud for me.
Yeah. By this point, the gun tank is practically useless in space warfare as an independent unit. It should have ridden aboard the white base or kept in reserve until they made a landing on Solomon itself.
No, they should combine it with the G fighter or the G armor. Remember the tank bit can separate from the track bit, and you have all these like combining things for the Gundam. Well, just take one of those propelling or
thruster area.
Yeah, one of the thruster bits that combines with the Gundam, make it comparable with the tank, which itself is part core fighter, so it should still hook into the same thing. And boom, you get a fast-moving artillery gun piece.
I guess so. But as the gun tank as is, like just floating around, and what happens later, it by this time it's out. Yeah,
it can separate from the track unit. We saw that when the track unit broke when it was on the ground, and Hayato flew up from the ground, landed somewhere nearby, and just kept firing. So,
but in space is not that much use.
But again, the part that connects between the G fighter, G bull, G armor is it connects to the core fighter bottom half thing. Well, sometimes it connects to the legs.
It also is being used by the G bull and the G fighter already. So if they had more of those, they could combine it with the gun. But also, it can be kind of weird because we're going like this and shoot.
It depends on what the use is. The same situations that the gun tank is better in than, say, the Gundam or anything, than the combination of, say, the G fighter, G bull, G armor, whatever, and the gun tank would probably be better in those situations too.
Yeah, but I think it would have been better if it stayed on the white base as a part of its anti-fighter,
I'm not arguing any of that for the current fight. Yeah, no, I'm just saying like future ability. Like the ability to improve what it is, because you were saying it was going into the obsolete territory, and I'm thinking it's as easily modifiable since we know it can separate in half as the Gundam. Confusing thing, leading up to the attack on Solomon, we see the ruins of a Banshee that the fleet is passing by. Now, during the reaction, I probably said something stupid, thinking that was Side 7, and this was the shot of the fleet leaving there. So, when I was taking my notes, I obviously thought I'd correct that notion and put down that that was obviously Side 1, since we know Solomon is where Side 1 used to be.
Yeah.
So seeing a ruined Banshee there would obviously make you think it's a destroyed Side 1 Banshee, right? Except no. When the attack begins, Dozel is told that the fleet was hiding in the debris of Side 4 and approaching into beam weapon range. Now, I obviously have no idea how close Side 1 and Side 4 are to one another, and in fact, on my chart of stuff we know about the sides, we know nothing about Side 4 at all, as of yet. But then, later in the fight, Tia Nem's fleet is said to be hiding in Side 1's debris, which I feel like would imply that Solomon would be closer to Side 4 than to Side 1. And my only reasonable guess in all of this is that they were using the word of sides here to denote the to denote the habitats that used to be those names and not the locations that they used to be in. And that they've moved the ruins of those sides to where Solomon is in order to break them down for war material and the like. Otherwise, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Because we know clearly that they flee, but I want to mention this when it happened, that we're going to rally around Side 7, but then move out to...
Yeah, that's why I thought it was Side 7 at the get-go. But again, watching it slowly and being able to take notes, the first thing they say is that the attack force is coming from Side 1. It's like, okay, sure, that makes sense. Solomon is supposed to be at Side 1, so maybe that's what happened to Side 1. And then it's like, no, the fleet's coming from the ruins of Side 4. What's Side 4 doing here? We're at Side 1. And then the idea that we use these proper nouns to be a location and a place. So it's like, sure, we could have moved Side 4 to Side 1. Side 1 the location, not Side 1 the place. But Side 1 is also here. The place and the location. See? It's very confusing. So, the fact that Side 4 is here, but so is Side 1, at Side 1. So I have no fucking idea. That's why I said confusing thing.
Yep. Okay. My next note. Doza contradicts himself. On one hand, he orders his wife, child, and ladies in waiting to get ready to escape Solomon, but then doesn't call on his sister's fleet for help. He does say that he doesn't need them for a skirmish. I have to add that to my note, by the way. If he had said that Caecilia's forces were needed as a deep strategic reserve to protect the Cian homeland or react to other Federation attacks elsewhere, then that would have made more sense. In other words, if he had said, okay, I'm not going to call on Caecilia because we can hold them here, or, we could, and because they're needed elsewhere. Okay, fine. You might be even realizing, yes, Solomon will fall, but you're sacrificing it so that all their forces might be available somewhere else. That makes one sense. But saying, "Oh, I'm not going to call my sister because basically I don't want to give her the satisfaction of coming to the rescue." Basically,
well, that's what I say. Yeah. He doesn't say that you don't want to give her the satisfaction. He says we'll be the laughing stock of Zeon forces.
Yeah,
that's different from my sister will make fun of me. I feel like we've got that in a recent show. Dude, I'm having a problem with remembering what show I'm trying to think of, and the fact that I'm watching like 12 at once. It's the element also, I think, when he's saying that he also doesn't think he's gonna lose yet, because they haven't like brought out a super weapon. It's just like, oh, they brought not even an overwhelming force, because even Kai points out, I think maybe Bright does too, this isn't enough forces to beat Solomon, because they don't know about the super weapon yet. So obviously Dozel doesn't either by the time. So yeah, so I think he still thinks he can win, but I'm not going to put my wife and child in danger.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to skip like 3 ahead on my own. I appreciate that Dozel not only made sure to get Zena and Minerva away from Solomon, but did everything he could not to cause a panic. The thing is, since we've seen Origin, we know who Zeta is and where she comes from. She's not just some girl that fell in love with a zombie and had a kid. She's someone that believed in the Zeon cause from day one and was there to help it from the start. There's no way that I would suspect that she's going to run away from this fight and teach their daughter to shy away from war. I gotta think Minerva is going to grow up learning about who her dad was and Zeon and become a future antagonist.
Also, she was not Minerva, but the wife. She was one of his students because he was the superintendent of the academy. Right?
That's why I said we know from Origin who she is and where she comes from.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Dawn Rebellion, it was part of her. She had to distract Dozel in order for the Dawn Rebellion to get off without being interrupted partway through.
Yeah.
So that's why I said she's part of the rise of Zeon.
And he's so impressed by her attempts, even though they were kind of clumsy. It's like, oh, by the way, would you marry me? And she's like, what? And I guess she did. She said yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point, that she's not some girl that fell in love with a zombie and had a kid. They have a story together, and her story involves helping the rise of Zeon under Federation oppression. That's what I'm saying, that she is not someone who's just going to, I don't anticipate that she is someone that'll just back down from this. That she's going to raise her daughter to know who Dozel was and what his fight was. And that Minerva is going to be... Oh, God, what was that girl's name from the Gundam Wing movie?
The movie?
Yeah, you remember Trace's daughter, was it? I think it was Trace's daughter, where they're like, you're going to take over in Trace's place, and I think they were using her as a figurehead, even though they're letting her also make commands. So I think that's essentially what I'm imagining is going to happen, because I don't see a lot of the zombies getting out of this. But she's probably, in my estimation, going to be like one of the last zombies. But I do also have a note here somewhere for the future about what I think the kill order of the zombies is going to be.
I'm going to say 2 notes back to back because they go back to the whole resource thing that we've been talking about, or I brought up. So there's notes 8 and 9 for me. Even Federation super weapons are simple and to the point. It's not very complicated. It's a bunch of mirrors, right? It's just a bunch of mirrors, sunlight, point them at them, go. They got damaged. And basically, only managed to use twice, but that's what they did, right? And then that said, the asteroid rockets are also a simple anti-ship weapon that requires very little in the way of construction or sophistication. They're a rock with an engine and some guidance kits. That's it. Go.
I already said I like them, so I like both of them. In fact, if that's both of your notes, I actually have a note about the super weapon. I'll skip one ahead to it.
Yeah.
I really do like the solar flare system. I mentioned before it's something I already brought up from a sci-fi novel I was reading where it was used for space defense and energy generation, to the point that I used it as a major setting item in a personal Myriad Song setting I had made, and I've showed it to you before. I don't know if you even remember it, where I called it the solar array laser. The thing I like about it is that it's very reasonable and it makes sense. It's scientifically explainable and something we could make with today's technology. But more than that, it's not what so many other Gundam super weapons tend to be, which is to say an ass pull. The element of surprise super weapon that you just never noticed before. The solar flare system has to be deployed, protected, and aligned. I appreciate the hustle you got to do in order to get it set up and use it.
It's also very situational. I mean, you can replicate it, of course, if you have enough mirrors, but it's also very situational, right? You can't just...
Well, they call it an anti-fortress weapon, so that's what it is. So ironic, though, if you think about it. Just last week, we watched Fate Zero. Saber's anti-fortress weapon. Which is also light, too, if you think about it. So.
Anti-castle weapon, I think, as they called it.
Yeah, same thing. Fortress, castle.
Castle, yeah. So now I'm going to, and I don't have a lot of notes for this for Big Sam's Last Stand, and they're not really in order, but I have to say that in like the whole Sleggard Murais thing, it seems
Which
to
you
come out of
expressed
nowhere.
while we were watching it, by the way.
Yeah. Makes Bright look like a simp and seems to serve merely as Sleggard's death flag.
I don't know if it was
it's
a
like,
death flag, but
no, it's like, oh, I have something to live for. Here's the ring to my mother. Wait for me. I'm gonna come back for you, maybe. But I'm just a soldier, so it's very much like that scene in Train when he's getting a train and the woman's like following and the music. You've seen Airplane, right?
Mm-hmm.
They parody that where she keeps hitting things along the way until she ends up going in an ambulance. It's like, oh, wait for me, darling. She gets hit by something and then hits another thing, and finally she just hits a brick wall or something and collapses and or a girder. I think it's a girder that she hits and then they call an ambulance and the ambulance takes her away.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. They do that in a bunch of movies. What's the one with the guy who plays Iceman in Top Gun?
Yeah, well, it's from the same people as well.
Yeah, what's the name of the movie, though? I just can't remember that.
Top Secret.
Top Secret. There we go. Yeah. I just could not remember for the life of me. Was it a Kentucky movie? No, it's not Kentucky movie.
The Kentucky Fried Chicken is the first movie made by, I don't know, Sucker Brothers? It's not Zuckerberg Brothers. It's Sucker Brothers. I think it's,
Yeah, Kentucky Fried movie. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're also kind of what we were making fun of Zeta and Dozel for back in Origin, which is to say, one of you looks at least 15 years too old for this to work out.
And the power disparity as well. It's like, well, yeah, he is a lieutenant.
Technically, I think the power disparity is on her end, in that she comes from an illustrious, rich family, and he is a nobody who just happens to have military rank.
Yeah, but in the military, she is an ensign.
This is the Legend of the Galactic Heroes argument, right? Yeah. Which is to say, once you leave the military, does this matter anymore? And again, you're going to leave the military once you finish the war, I guess. But I mean, there's also again the element when the ship rocks and they go launching towards the wall, and she's only at eye level to him in zero gravity because her feet are up. Her feet are hanging around where his knees are, so she could kiss him. It's like,
yeah.
Either she's really short or really young, and I'm leaning towards really young.
Probably about a year. She's probably between the age of. She's more like Sailor, so I would say she's like about 19. So she's about the same age as Bright, really. I mean, maybe Bright is about 20 now, depending on if he had a birthday in these months that we're fighting.
I don't know. I probably knew at some point, but now I'm taking too many notes about the ages of people in Legends of the Galactic Heroes, so it's a jumble. Yeah. I feel like we are losing zombies in order of best to worst. Garma, I feel like, was redeemable. He started doing what his family wanted after Char pushed him into it, but was also willing to leave the life for the woman that he loved. Even his father wished that he had gone a different way, and he was the first to die. Dozel had a good heart, but was too easily swayed by those very same expectations from his family. He's what Garma would have become, I feel like, had he not died when he did and didn't leave Zeon behind. Now all we have left are the connivers and the backstabbers. Granted, my vision only has 2 data points, but if what I've said is right, then the next one to die should be Degwin Zabi himself. He blamed his son for starting so much of the fighting and the war crimes. He wanted to stop at the very start to stop the bloodshed. He ultimately only goes into it when Revel betrays his attempt to negotiate peace. In that way, he's the lesser of the existing 3 evils. By the way, I'm not counting Zena or Minerva in this list of remaining zombies. Yeah. So, if I'm right, Degwin should be the next to die. And then I have no idea who's more evil between Kycelia and Giran.
I'm going to talk about Dozel too, and maybe put a little context of what you just said about him being the best and why he did what he did. Dozel fights aboard the Baba Yaga's hut. I mean, the Big Sam shows him as a good commander, using what he has at hand to the best of his ability. but he knew the fight was lost the moment he sent his wife and child away. He did not. He did go out as a badass, and he also sent his soldiers away to be saved. Although when you take origins into account, he might have committed suicide by Gundam to avoid a war crimes tribunal at the end of the war, because he basically says so, right? In that meeting, Yeah, he says, we're war criminals now. We have to do this, otherwise, if we lose, we're war criminals. If we win, then
I think that's incidental. I don't think that's why he did it. It just happens to be a thing that happens. Yeah. If you just because Dozel was always going to be the guy who goes out fighting. I just don't think it was. Oh man, I better go out fighting. Ha ha, suckers! You guys can get war crime tribunal. I'm fucking to die. No, Dozel's just a fucking badass dude who got car bombed and kicked his way out of the car. Sorry, you said something in there I wanted to respond to, but I now can't remember what the fuck it was. It was right near the beginning.
Yeah, there's a fight about the Baba Jaga's hut, which I call, the Big Sam. Shows him as a good commander using what he has at hand.
Oh, yeah, the good commander thing. The very first thing we get of Origin is literally his men saluting him before they die, wishing him good luck. It's something I brought up a lot during Origin.
Yeah.
That's how in the ranks Dozel is. He cares about his men to the point he's like, I'm surprised the guys on board the Big Zom actually abandoned ship. Because I think if we had more time, and this, I guess, maybe a little bit more modern, that they would have been like, no, sir, no, we're staying, because that's the loyalty his men have.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't even want to leave, but I think if this been, we get more time with Dozel, if it's been a longer episode, that they would have refused to leave, and then Dozel would have been like, oh, God, you guys, well, for the glory of Zeon, and then they would have all marched off to their deaths together. There would have been, sorry, I feel like I'm making the movie of this now, where, the last day of Big Zom as a movie, where the whole, keep getting destroyed, Star Trek 2. Star Trek 2 with the white base, the Gundam, and the Big Zom that just keep hurting each other, and then slowly we're losing the crew until, by the end, Dozel's grabbing the assault rifle, climbing over the dead bodies, or just slumped over the consoles, I'm gonna fucking get that guy, Could have been so much greater, but I thought you were gonna pull out the fact that Dozel is also somewhat personally responsible for Operation British.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you said you indicated the guilt for the war crime things, but I mean more so that he was actively there, orchestrating the actual events. Whereas Giran is like, "Do this," and then his hands off.
Yeah.
But then again, even when Dozel's argument with Ramba about being the devil's work, it's obvious that he's trying to convince himself at the same time as he's trying to convince Ramba, which is he punches in the console.
No, and when he's having the discussion with his wife and kid, is like, oh, why all these children have to die? It's and then he turns around and goes well, it's their fault they fought. I want my children to live, so if they have to die, then I'm going to do it for my wife and my daughter.
Yeah, I have to defeat them so that somebody will be in power that's able to protect these kids the way I'm able to protect these. Like I said, he has to convince himself, which is why I say he's good-hearted, but he's easily swayed. Mm-hmm. He believes in the goodness of his family, even though it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Degwin. Again, Degwin isn't as bad as you might think if you only watched Mobile Suit Gundam. You watch the origin, and he's well before the war. We have to stop this. People of Munzo are dying.
Yeah, but it also kind of was the catalyst behind it by poisoning...
well, we don't actually know which Zabi poisoned. Zeon. If I had to guess, obvious guess would be Cecilia.
Yeah.
I think Degwin's guilt is that he rides that wave. He doesn't try very hard, but at the same time, I'm bringing up old notes here, even though I've deleted them. They're still up here. There was, I think in episode 2, where it is Giran, Degwin, and Cecilia, and Garma. And Degwin's about to get into his car, and he's like, where's Dozel? And they're like, I don't know, he's off doing something. It turns out he's working on the mobile suit thing. And then Degwin looks around and says, Garma, you're riding with me. And my indication there is the fear that Degwin himself has that Kycelia is going to kill him if he gets in this car by himself, and that they are unwilling to hurt Garma, that he's now using Garma as a shield to protect himself against his own daughter. That the fact that Kycelia could take these actions on her own, again, kill Sasro, for God's sake.
Yeah.
That Degwin may not have been...
the only reason he did it is because she slapped her.
Yeah. So the fact that I don't think, in my worldview, unless it gets proven later in some other show, like some side note that says, "Oh, Kycelia did it," or that Degwin did it. In my headcanon, Degwin didn't do it. He just capitalized on it. He's actually afraid of his daughter. I know later on in that thing, Kycelia goes, "Don't worry, your Kycelia will handle everything for you." I'd be sitting in the chair like, "Oh God, somebody save me."
Yeah. We'll see about that. Put a pin on that, because that's interesting. Thoughts?
I mean, again, the Universal Century show that we're watching, or shows that we're watching, is going to long past the deaths of everyone we're currently watching. So
yeah.
Unless some of them get frozen in time or something, we're going to watch everyone either die of combat or old age. Anyway, that was actually your notes. My next one. I didn't recognize it till I was adding all the people to the board. But Howard, the guy running repairs on the G-Fighter that Slugger talks to before going off to talk to Mirai, that's the last member of Kai's gang from back on Side 7 that we hadn't seen yet. So I didn't bring him up when I was looking at the board, but he's the last origin image replacement that I did on the board here.
Yeah.
Because I was still using the origin version of him, because we hadn't met him on the show yet.
Yeah, I guess he becomes proficient in repair and refueling of these machines,
Well, conceivably all of Kai's crew has gone on to do something. I mean, technically Hayato was a member of Kai's crew, so...
Yeah.
Also somebody I didn't have a lot of notes about, even though he went through a whole thing.
Yeah. Got beaten the crap out of him.
Oh, technically, to the argument that we had during the episode where I said he got hit by the Flash or thing.
Yeah.
Arguable still to me. I mean, I think he didn't, like you said. But the problem is the explosion they see him, they show him getting hit with, is the same white flash that the fucking solar weapon thing is doing. Even though it looks like an explosion happens in front of him, they've never showed the explosions that way, except for here, where we're having a giant white flash explosion. So, I don't know.
And to my last note, and this is a point of McCube or McQueeve, if you want to call him, against him. The fact that McCube or McQueeve had to be told that you don't abandon your own people to die in space or be taken as prisoners. But no, these particular people are Dulce's wife and child, after all, and possible powerful bargaining chips.
He doesn't know that, though.
No, but we know as an audience.
Yeah. I'm just putting out there.
I know he doesn't know.
We don't know that. He doesn't know that until they pick him up.
Yeah, it seems a bit dumb to me. In other words, and it has to be explained to him, like, we do things in space this way because we want everybody, we want everybody to trust each other what we're doing, right? If we send a word that we will leave them behind, then that affects morale. It's like, yeah, you're a commander, you're a tactician and strategist, you have commanded men in battle. You should know this. It's not just in space, it's combat. That's why you have search and rescue unit and the like. And firefighters, like, oh, something got on fire. Oh, screw them.
Well, yeah, no, it's a point that we brought up during the episode. The World War II naval thing is that you rescue anybody, no matter what side they're on, when they're lost at sea or whatever. But devil's advocate, I guess, it's not something I feel, but I feel like it needs to be said. McQueeve's point was that if we slow down and stop here, we're not going to make it to Solomon when they need us. And you yourself said search and rescue. They could have just called back to the base that they just left to send somebody to pick this pod up. And not for nothing, the pod was heading towards that base too. So even if they didn't stop, the pod conceivably could have gotten there.
Oh, they could have detached one of their ships. It doesn't have to be the entire fleet, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or they could have called back to Granada and said, hey, there's a pod coming this way. It's traveling on this trajectory at this speed. Send a search and rescue team to pick them up. McQueeve has a point. Strategically, this is a bad idea to stop. And then, as it turns out, they didn't make it to Solomon on time, which you could attribute to at least one thing.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think it's more of they didn't get the call in time rather than we're gonna pick up this.
Oh no,
one
I know.
part,
I'm not saying. I'm saying
yeah.
you can't attribute it to at least one thing. I mean, there's a whole host of things, but getting slowed down and stopped probably didn't help either. But again, I don't. That's a devil's. That is a devil's advocate argument. I don't believe it myself. I'm just saying that McQueen isn't as guilty. No, yeah, he said stop, and we actually see them stop.
Yeah,
because they're doing the light Morse code thing at the back and forth.
Yeah, but that just means that the pod would automatically go into the ship.
No, I mean we see them stop. We see the whole fleet stop.
Yeah. So those are my notes. You have more?
Oh yeah, I have 3 more, but one of them is like 5 words too, though. So it feels like the Big Zom would finally be the Zeon answer, but not equivalent to the Gundam. Unlike the Adzum, which would also fight the Gundam and possibly win, Big Zom is also effective against regular mobile suits and fleets. I suppose its a real failing is its size. While it can melee, it's not as maneuverable as the Gundam and ultimately lost to the beam sabers.
Mm-hmm.
The unlimited beam sabers and breadsticks.
Yeah. In that case, if you think about it, it'll only take one GM with a beam saber or a beam.
Well, to be fair, all it would take is one anything with a beam saber to defeat anything. It's not a failing of the Big Zom. That's the success of the beam saber. Like, literally, we should have, like... The beam saber is technically like a lightsaber, right? In that it just comes out of the thing at some random point. You can literally have a machine gun of beam saber hilts that activate the beam saber once it comes out.
Yeah.
Literally, because it's the most powerful weapon. Like, nothing stops the beam saber.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, you know what? Actually shoot the beam saber, but at the final edge of projection, make a little tilt on the edge of the cannon so it twists the beam saber as it's going, so it's 360 beam sabering.
Yeah.
It's a fucking unstoppable weapon. It's like, it's the logical progression of things. It's that, obviously, I've created an armor that beam weaponry just fucking bounces off of now, which is the Autozom's, I think they call it like a magnetic field. Because at first it looks like it's bouncing off the armor, but then we get a report from like on the bridge of one of the ships. It's like a magnetic field thing. Yeah. Well, we've created that, so now beam weaponry is kind of off the table. What do we got left? Well, I don't know. The armor's so thick, slug weaponry doesn't seem to work anymore. Beam sabers. Beam sabers all the way.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I don't know how new type shit works yet. It hasn't been explained. But I sure as hell disagree with the narrator about Amuro encountering the hatred of Dozel. For one thing, Dozel's thoughts were to his men escaping and to the safety of his wife and daughter. Then he was thinking about battle logistics and the fight. When the Big Zam gets taken out, he goes into last stand mode with his machismo and a gun. When Amuro sees a dark, giant, flaming space bat, I read that as the overwhelming, intimidating presence of Dozel, as seen with his otherworldly vision.
I guess
not
so.
Hatred.
Yeah. I guess it's the show sort of pointing out that, even though we humanize Dozel, we still have to make the point that he's a zombie and Zeon, and therefore ultimately a bad guy.
I mean, even if I was going to say any of that, it would be like the hatred of Dozel towards the person killing his men. Dozel doesn't have like an inborn hatred towards anything in particular.
Yeah.
Like, Dozel's not like those fucking, Earthlings?
No, spheroids. Remember, there's a whole space.
You mean Earthnoid? I don't know what spheroids are.
Oh, that's a Battletech. Never mind.
Well, because you're also about said spacelings. It's like, well, you almost said spacelings. That's what I'm saying. And that space noids are his people. So that's what I'm saying. He hasn't like said anything about Earthnoids ever. Yeah. Not once. That's been Giran's thing.
Yeah, all along. And even then he does this a couple of times.
Well, mostly in Origin.
Mhm.
But because in this show, it's been about the Earth Federation has been the target of his speeches. And he hasn't given one since like episode 12.
Mhm.
Anyway, my last note here is Zeon lost a hero today.
So she shows you in the position in which Zeon finds himself right now.
Well, remember, I side with Zeon.
I know.
Because there's an element of... Sorry, my mind is also mingling with Legends of the Galactic Heroes because I just rewatched Golden Wings earlier for my notes for that. And the element of prepare Thor's hammer. But sir, we can't fire into our own men. We've got to do what we've got to do, right? Either we lose and the entire empire loses, or, we just give up right here, right now. There's an element of... I'm thinking back to like the war crimes, essentially. If we believe that we're right, and we do, at what point do you stop, right?
Until you're not right anymore. That's the problem.
Well, the thing is that you're never wrong. They're never wrong about the start of why they're fighting, right? They are being oppressed in the streets, essentially.
Yeah.
But at what point are you so now wrong yourself for the very same reason that you started fighting? Do you give up the fight? And again, it's a whole nation that has to agree that their morals are fucked, or that their ethics are fucked, and not just like the people in charge. Basically Seed, right?
Yeah.
Ironically, by the way, I know this is a bit off tangent here. We're the episode of Seed that dropped on YouTube today. Literally, I say, you can't just stop this war. And I bring up the Blue Cosmos people that try to assassinate Waltfield in the desert and say, there's probably even going to be people in Zaft that don't want to stop the war. People that died in like Janus 7 that'll just keep trying to fight. Given that we're watching Seed and there's a Zaft group that tries to drop Janus 7 because there are people died there. Ooh, called that shit like 27 episodes early.
Yeah, those are my notes, and you're done with your notes, so I think it's time to go to the episode.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Way louder than I thought. And you remember to put it not into English, right?
I was double checking that right now. Yeah.
I mean, technically, you watch it whatever way you want. I'm not gonna...
Yeah, no, but it's the thing is, I've gotten so used to. I don't want to be the kind of guy that's like subs suck, blah blah. Because I grew up watching subs, right, for the longest time. So I can't complain. And there's some of them are pretty good, right? And they might be pretty, but it's a thing of like you get used to certain voices.
Yeah,
right?
It's whatever you're used to. I watch Gurren Lagann every time in dub, because I originally watched it in dub, and it's what I'm used to. I'm reacting to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in English because that's what Griffin wanted to watch, and now it's 40-some episodes in. I'm not gonna like.
I think
when I was watching One Piece, that was the hardest transition to make when I got to like episode 900 and something, and the English dub wasn't caught up at the time, so I just suddenly have to make the switch to sub, and it's like, that's not the Luffy I'm used to hearing.
No. Also, I think in the voices in Japanese tend to be about a register lower, especially for male characters. It
depends. Sorry, real quick before this. The only difference I really have to make about it is that if you want to watch something that's up to date, you have to watch it in the sub.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen this again.
Technically,
he could have been
he doesn't die. He just gets ejected.
Dozla. They say Dozel, but I guess it's Dozla.
デギンザビ国王はドズルにして最もなことであるよと議連に答えたという。
Yeah, final stand.
王に怒りを覚えつつも、きら星のごとくに並ぶ高官たちの前で叫んだ。バオワ空を最終防衛戦として連邦を撃つと。
I don't think that's gonna work, dude. You're running out of places to hide, basically.
Well, it's not places to hide, places to fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Conceivably, attach rockets to Munzo, leave solar system.
I guess.
It's the Gundam 00 method of victory.
Oh, he brought his bed here. Like, I'm not gonna go to bed. I'm like,
Solomio. Saw him early on, and now here he is again.
see, now he's finally paying attention to her. Like, oh, yeah.
Again, unlike when he almost killed her with a jet engine.
Wow. This is her basically dumping him. Like, that's fine.
Saw my dad.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would have changed him all that much. Oh, sorry, Lala and Char.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, he does judo.
Does it say Texas Shoal?
Yeah. Like it was some kind of beach or something, I guess.
What the fuck is the Texas zone? What is it? Okay, thank you.
レジャーと牧畜業を専門に作られたこのコロニーはテキサスと名付けられ、軍事的には何の重要性も持たぬために取り残されている。
How the fuck does it survive?
それを囲むように岩とコロニーの残骸が浮かぶ。
まだテキサスにはついておらんのか、エルメスとビットは。
If memory serves, Texas was part of Side 3.
I mean, it doesn't make it every single Banchai was obliterated. I mean,
It was owned by Mirai's dad, too.
oh, it was it Mirai side or was it Sila? It was Dung.
No,
What's his
Don
name?
Tebow was convinced to move there
Yeah.
by Mirai's dad, who said he bought it. Because you remember, real Char Aznawal's dad says, oh, this actually feels more like Wyoming.
Yeah.
So I've also been rewatching episodes 1 and 2 of Origin a lot for some reason. So technically, Sayla is about to go back to where
Yeah.
I guess the
When all that happened.
gravestone of her mother is, and also her dead cat Lucifer.
And where her adopted father also died.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's like buried there or anything. I'm just saying technically the gravestone of both her cat and her mom are there.
Yeah. It's also when she changed basically from being somebody who was very passive to taking charge,
Well, she
basically.
left immediately after it to go to
Become a doctor, basically.
yeah, I can't remember the side that she went to though. Loom, I think she was Loom.
Yeah.
That was a Rungo, right? Yep, that's him. I recognize those eyebrows anywhere.
Yeah.
And that bowl cut.
Mm-hmm.
ギャンは私用に開発していただいたモビルスーツだ。キシリア少々へ男としてのメンツがある。それにシャアには例のモビルスーツが届いていないと
Oh,
いう。
that makes sense.
キャッツの前で
the mobile suit we see with the fencing style. Of course, has to be him, not
Yeah.
Lala like I thought it was going to be.
ジベンが第二戦闘エリアにキャッチできるはずです。気をつけてください。
了解。
ポイント 3AA に木馬キャッチ。各員戦闘配置につけ。
That's pretty cool.
クドムは敵戦闘爆撃に対して先制攻撃を。
And you and me had an argument about him being a frontline fighter. And I was like,
Yeah.
of course he fucking is. And you're like, no, he's not. Knowing this shit was going to come. You say you can't gaslight. This is what I'm asking you for.
Well, he wasn't until this point,
セナさん
basically.
ジベン
He
です
was.
そろそろ
He
見えますよ
piloted the Adsum. He went one-on-one with the Gundam already. I just don't know how the fuck Texas survived this.
マーカーどうなんだ敵の動きは。
ますます岩が多くて。
正面最大防衛だ。
Oh, that cleared it up.
敵アーマーを狙っている。
Yeah.
裏が木馬の足を止めるのは任せたぞ。相手は一隻だが油断はするなよ。
了解であります。出撃なさってください。
It's just one ship that destroyed all of our other ships.
Yeah. Survived everything we thrown at it, including your trap that you would have destroyed the ship had not just gone away and left it damaged.
テキサス近くで私は仕掛けを作る。ガンダムを倒せば2階級特進者だということを忘れるな。
Again, well,
Conversely, though, it's
two-rank
also a
promotion.
2-rank promotion if you die. So
Yeah.
either way, we're probably all getting 2-rank promotions.
見えて。
Just don't think about it too hard.
しごきかしら。
ミノフスキー粒子と岩のおかげで判別つきませんね。
見えたわ。
I still can't believe they went with Rick Doms as the way to go. You know what they should have done? Should have been Rick Doofs. Sorry, Rick Goofs.
ポルター
Yeah.
急ぎます。
Well, think about it. The whips in space, at least they were useful. The Rick Doms haven't fucking taken anybody out.
No.
I appreciate that guy.
Yeah.
That guy was like, no arms, no legs, one arm. I got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure that was a Rick Dom.
ジファイターテキサスへ
Yeah.
流されているようです。
はい発進スタンバイ。各員大戦闘配置。
サンマル軍曹、また戦いが始まったんですか。
隼人は体を治すことだけを考えるんだ。それも任務だぞ。
それはわかりますが、僕の傷は思ったほどひどくないんですよ。
あと1日2日したら起きられるんだから、今こらえるんだ。
格好よくいかんもんですね。
病人の格好っていうのだってあるのさ。手間をかけさせるな
Well, do
よ。
remember though that you can turn on your screen on the side and look out into the bridge at any point.
Yeah.
カラカラだ。クラナがどうだ。
順調です。ララはテストターゲットの
Okay.
70%の確率である
The Flanagan he was asking about who took her, Layla, not specifically Flanagan Boone, who died.
戦争の余波でミラーが動かなくなり、8ヶ月余り夕暮れのままである。そのため砂漠化が進み、人も住まない。
何かし
So
ら。
in essence, it was destroyed because the mirrors were out of alignment.
何かしら。何かしらこれ。何かが来るわ。
クラナがなんだ。
テストターゲットではありません。今までこんな脳波の共振を示したことはありません。
Okay, so he's just a doctor, not like a new type that's training her.
私と同じ人がいるのかしら。
ララ、今なんと言った。
大佐が私の心を触った感じなんです。
私がララ、冗談はやめにしてくれないか。
はい。何だったんだろう。今のあのしびれるよう
Amuro,
な感覚。
Sayla, Sayla. I'm gonna get Sayla.
手慣れたパイロットたちだ。しかしパターンは読んだぞ。
Ah, it's Layla. It's Lala. Never mind. Amuro.
Oh, yeah.
ガンダムと G ファイターはテキサス
If
エ
it
リア
was
に
Char
入りました
sensing something, it would be
艦
Sayla.
隊の動きはどうなんだ。
変化ありません。ゆっくり移動しているようです。最後の一機。何？ こいつのところへ誘い込むための作戦だったのか。
さて、来てもらおうか、ガンダム。
The Queen can be a badass when he wants to be. I mean, all he had to do was do the common fencing move, you know, come at me, Gundam.
Yeah.
こいつ小賢しいと思う。
Not really.
That's a very spiky rock, if I do say so myself.
He's pulled a Sheridan.
やっと
That's how we defeated the Minbari by planting
Yeah.
nukes in an asteroid field. He figured McQueen was going to set a trap. He'd actually use fucking nukes.
Yeah.
テキサスに逃げるのか。
Wow, it tells you the scale of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is a bombshell.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, but it's a good
effectively
use
what
of-
it's Operation British. I mean,
Yeah.
we have no reason to think that Island Iffish and Texas aren't the same size,
Yeah,
despite what Texans might tell you.
yeah.
Amaro's
still, it's
never
like-
been to Texas before.
Yeah. But still, it's a very effective use. The flying rat.
Is that a flying rat or a dead rat?
No, flying. It was paddling,
I guess
basically.
technically there's still air, yeah.
Yeah. Also smart of the Gundam to ride the door and not stand there, you know, to
I think
get
it would have been
attacked.
smarter to ride it upside down. It's just technically no difference
Yeah.
in the gravity. That way you at least poke your head out and see.
Yeah.
私にエルメスを操縦できるのでしょうか。
怖いのか。
はい。
それはな
Literally, I'm not military trained.
私がいつもついている
So yes.
そうしたらララーはすぐに私以上のパイロットになれる。
私が
Oh man, this just reads as incoming tragedy.
当たり前だ。そうでなければ、みなしごだったララーをフラナガン機関に預けたりはしない。サイド6では寂しい思いをさせてすまなかったな。
Mulligan?
大佐、マクベ大佐がモビルスーツでテキサスに潜入したそうです。
Yeah, I think it's a, yeah.
マクベがか。
Because they're still in the same shoe.
マクベにそんなとこがあったとはな。ご自分用のモビルスーツを開発させて、打倒木馬と常日頃おっしゃっておられたようですから、自信があるのでしょう。私への当てつけだよ。そうでなければ。
It's kind of dumb that they're still obsessed about the Trojan horse this late in the war. It's like,
黙って見ているわけにもいかんな。
It's
maybe
the
get
most
rid of the
effective
Gundam.
battle weapon.
Yeah, but, you know, at least go after the gun. Well, I guess he's going
It's
after
also a
the Gundam
bigger
first.
target.
マクベの様子を見る
Yeah.
か。
I don't know, it just seems like we're suddenly expressing Char's, like, investment in a thing real heavy. That only
Yeah.
tells me we're about to lose somebody.
敵艦だわ。
ブラウボ、ガンキャノンを発進させろ。
はい。
バカ、敵艦は地面1、無罪2。
Chivets are better than Musais, right?
Yeah, they're the next generation. Musais were the first.
Yeah, no, the
destroyer
Musais,
of
no,
the-
just because remember, the Char ship. Char's original
Yeah.
ship that Dren was effectively captured on was a Musai. It's just,
Yeah.
they've never, like, depicted. Like you said, one fucking nuke. If he had used a nuke in one of these fucking traps,
何かしら。
分かっている。ゲルググのデータは頭に入れてある。
ノーマルスーツを着てはいただけませんか。
私はモビルスーツに乗っても必ず帰ってくるし。死にたくない。
Well, isn't everybody's policy?
well, to be fair, he's not even living up to his own policy. He's in multiple suits that get their arms cut off.
Yeah.
So, Gelgolg?
Yeah. He split leg there.
違うな。
Magnetic Mines? Figure this is how you know how to fight the Gundam, I feel like. Don't let it go one-on-one with you.
Very much a badass pose. Like, yeah, I'm here, bitches. What are you gonna do about it?
That looks cooler than anything else so far.
Fit for the Red Rocket. Now, I think this is actually an Ace custom. Because it was made for him.
I mean, we haven't seen any other Gelgold before, I don't recall.
No. I guess they really are emphasizing that sense of scale, right?
さて、マクベのお手並みを見せてもらおうか。
3、2、1、どうぞ。
I'm just kind of disappointed that we can't, like, make out any of the landmarks from Texas.
Yeah.
あれか？
勘がいいのか、それともあの新しいタイプのやつなのか。
There we go.
味方のモビルスーツか。やるな。赤いモビルスーツ。
Obviously, I think Amuro's going to win this, which, I mean, I don't know what to even think that he beats McQueeve and Char at the same time. Unless Char backstabs McQueeve. So I don't even know why he would do.
Imano 貴様の任務はガンダムを倒すことではないはずだ。
味方が苦戦しているのを見逃すわけにはいかんのでな。
私なりの戦い方があるからこそガンダムを引き込んだのだ。
任せたよ、マクベ大佐。来るぞ。
Oh, I thought that Char was about to wander into one of McQueeve's traps. So he's trying to save him.
今までのデータで確かめてある。シャードの小競り合いでビームを使いすぎたのだよ。
See, I wish his shield was gold. Like that one mobile armor we saw.
Yeah.
So it'd be like useful for deflecting this shit.
Damn, point blank range.
ガンダムが型をつけてくれればありがたいとも思ったが、マクベめ、よくやる。ララ、見ているな。
I just don't know why he would have a vendetta against McQueeve.
Well, McQueeve is like second in command to Cassilia, so if he can get rid of him.
You don't remember his old thing about not wanting Zeon soldiers to die with no reason? McQueeve is just another Zeon soldier.
汚い手しか使えないお前はもうパワー負けしている。シャアを次乗らせないためにはガンダムを倒さねばならんのだよ。
And then the bulls, of course.
なんと。
もうおやめなさい。終わったのよ。
え？何？
I was right. Way back in episode 4 of Origin. That's what I want my final words to be. Makes sense. You know what the blasts of those things are like, and what happens if you're not, like, grounded. when it blows a hole in something. No, back in episode 4, I was indicating that Lala sent information to Char in order to be able to dodge the thing that Aga was throwing at him, and I think very specifically you said no. that was Char's own new type thing. And then we just get proof that Lala can't do that shit.
It's a combination of things. Yeah, and this is when the show gets really trippy. Even the
Remember
music.
that giant Aztec temple in Texas?
Yeah.
すでに新たな力を手に入れつつあるアムロにとってシャアは敵ではなかった。その戦いの最中、セイラはシャアに質問をする。ジオンを捨てよ、我が胸に帰れと。機動戦士ガンダム次回。
And then offers him a bunch of gold? What?
君は生き延びることができるか?
I don't know. I think McQueen could have won that fight easy.
How?
Dude carries fucking nukes. Literally, that one trap where the door bomb goes off, nuke, boom, win. I don't think anyone's going to be questioning the fact that Xeon used a nuke in a literal wreckage of a colony that nobody lives in. Wouldn't be looked on that hard. What did they do? Oh, they destroyed a mobile suit. You know, it'd be like, yeah, got away with that one. And all he has to do is be really far in the colony, you know, real far away. Which literally he would have been, right? Because he goes into the colony, then runs deep inside to activate all of his fucking traps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we know the guy willing to use a nuke could have just used a nuke and would have won.
Yeah. But I think he was determined to defeat him one-on-one or something, so... Well, not really. Weaken him with the explosions and then...
Well, he said he fights in his own way, and I feel like that was the way, with traps. He had the obvious win. Like I said, he pulled a Sheridan. Did you ever watch In the Beginning, Babylon 5 movie? Yeah, how he took out the, like, something star. Black Star?
The Black
Dark Star? Something
the
like
Black Star.
Yeah, how he takes that one out. Literally, that's the McQueen move. He just pulled it. It's like, could have won, my guy. You could have won.
Well, he didn't.
Because also very much feels like the new type powers work against living things. So, like, a trap really feels like the way to take Amuro out.
Well, I don't know. It's not explained how it really works, so it's
well,
like...
I mean, in the element of, like, when it works on, like, mobile suits, it's because there's a person in the mobile suit. When there's a person actually... in the mobile suit using it. So, when there's nobody around, it's not like spider sense.
No, it is because remember when McQueen was sitting on top of the asteroid?
That's McQueen is there.
Yeah, no, but he gets a flash.
Because McQueen is there, McQueen knows what's about to happen. McQueen set up the trap. He's right there too.
That means any trap that McQueen says, you could sense McQueen. Oh,
no, that's when McQueen was there. McQueen was right there. McQueen was obviously like, yes, closer. You know, the thoughts going on. Versus Amuro has no idea where the fuck McQueen is in the colony, so he doesn't know what the traps are about to go off because McQueen isn't like, he's not sensing him. He's not like, Amuro's not like Lala, where Lala's like sensing things or people at a distance. Amuro is like combat new type, it feels like, that he's able to, like, couple of seconds ahead, I can see what's happening here and I can dodge it and that, but it's only when I can sense the person in front of me. That's what I was saying before about his camera and a new type, and that every new type seems to have, like, different abilities. Although it seems like Char's ability is just the same as Amuro's, so, which is also why the next time on thing didn't make much sense, and that, with Amuro's awakening abilities, Char stands no chance. It's like, Char's got the same fucking thing. He, like, threw a guy through, like, a brick walkway once because he's got the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess technically Char has the advantage if he fights Amuro outside of a mobile suit, but then I would say that without new type powers, and that he's like 6 feet tall, and Aparo is like 5 years younger than him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's like saying, yeah, Hulk Hogan could probably beat up that 5-year-old kid next door.
Yeah, suplex him.
Well, I mean, I guess that's more Dozel fighting Amuro, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was a good episode, though. I mean, the problem herein is that we are on the back end of the show, which means that all the time we've spent setting everybody up, my whole board of people is now only exists, I feel like, to be whittled away.
Yeah.
So my investment, odd statement, and you can take it the wrong way, but I hope that people understand what I'm saying, is that the closer we get to the end, the less my investment is. And not in the show or the universe, but because all the people that I care about are going away. Yeah. Like, Origin exists as a setup to Mobile Suit Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those people show up here. Like, there's no one I know. Obviously, I don't have this information, but I don't know anybody in Origin that is being set up for, like, Zeta. Because I've never seen Zeta, right? But it seems like everybody in Origin has been for Mobile Suit Gundam. There's been nobody that was there that I don't think. So I'm trying to think of somebody in Origin who hasn't showed up in Mobile Suit Gundam yet. I don't think I can think of somebody off the top of my head. As I'm saying, everybody in the show has been here.
Yeah.
So this is literally 2 shows investment now where we've been whittling down, and that investment's being decreased to the point of, okay, who's going to show up in the next show that could possibly even be from here? Obviously, it's not going to be, because we're going to expand the territory by going off in different directions on 79, but, like, when we get to Zeta, who's going to be left? So that's really, and nobody has to be left. I'm not putting that out there, that the only way I'm going to be invested in Zeta is if somebody from Mobile Suit Gundam shows up. Would be fucking amazing, though.
No, it depends on the context. It could just be like somebody like, and they don't do anything with them, which could be a complete loss.
It's an element of the shared universe thing. Like, the way I appreciate that the first couple of Star Trek spin-off shows had somebody, Bones from TOS shows up to say, hey, Data, I don't like transporters, whatever. And then Star Trek, TNG to Deep Space Nine, the Enterprise is fucking there. Voyager, they launch from Deep Space Nine. That element of continued continuity, that people can just show up. That's just that makes the universe for me. Obviously, that's not going to happen when we get to shows that take place like 100 years after the fact, but I don't know. Even when it comes to, like, Macross, with Macross Plus doesn't attach to anything, but we still get, like, oh, Gamblin gets his tea from Eden, which was the planet from Macross Plus took place in, or the Hydras come from Eden. We at least attach even those little bits to the shows. I appreciate those things.
So, yeah. I think it's, I don't know how much I can say this, but the weirdness factor, especially around Lala, is increasing.
It's not that weird. This is late 70s, going towards early 80s mindset, which is...
but it feels kind of out of place. It feels kind of out of place.
Sorry, it's not coming to my head. The CIA operation for mental psychotropics to expand the capabilities of people. I can't think of the name for some reason. That was late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Or
I see you, but
the FBI's remote viewing shit. I mean, obviously this is Japan, so it's not based on that thing, but those are of its time experiments in the real world.
Yeah, but it also, I guess, we're being this sort of real robot kind of techno, so it's like, ooh, magic powers, and I wish those things had been introduced earlier.
Well, we already discussed that, though. They had the chance to, but they decided, let's do learning computer shit. And then they decided the kids aren't buying those toys. Let's say something about espers and see if anyone like latches on. Oh, they're the test audiences. I don't know if Japan even does test audiences, but
sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just had a whole conversation with the fact that the other day I was live streaming. A whole conversation with the fact that apparently 75% of the people who watch anime have already read everything. In Japan, I'm talking about. In Japan, it's expected that 75% of your audience is already going to have read your manga or your light novel or everything. Right? I was thinking, no, that's just not a cultural expectation. That's just a normal expectation that you're going to have a wide audience, and the wide audience is going to have to expect to have read all the side material. But no, apparently in Japan, that's not the case.
Well, no, it's ultimately a smaller market, so you want people who are really invested in your property, right? Because also you have so many shows and manga and light novels are constantly competing with each other. So it's better to get a smaller, dedicated audience that already has a huge buy on it, right?
Well, I don't know. It feels to me like the same sensation of like watching movies in, say, the 70s and 80s, which is to say a lot less of it came out back then. So, hey, did you watch one of the 7 movies that came out this year? Versus now, the manga marketplace is so fucking huge that I would never expect that 75% of people have read everything of the thing you're about to release. That would be fucking crazy, because, like, hey, did you watch one of the 1,000+ movies that got released this year? Yeah, no, not specifically. I watched one of the other 1,000+ movies that came out this year. There's not enough time in the year to watch every TV show and movie. Hey, did you watch one of the 4 channels that was on until 10 p.m. tonight? You know, things were different.
Then again, a lot of people use public transport, so there's a lot of time to read, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe. Depending on how crowded the Japanese subway is. Anyway, it's a weird episode. I don't have a problem with the weirdness, though. I think McQueeve could have won if McQueeve had been more McQueeve.
But he wasn't.
Yeah, he just decided not to be that guy. Again, I thought he was pushing Char out of the way because Char was about to wander into one of his traps. But it turned out, no, he was just being selfish. Like, I want to defeat him. You get out of the way. Because it's not the inflection he had into his voice when he was like, oh, Char, look out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else, then I guess that's it for this episode. So once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?